It's the roaring 20s. The country is flourishing. Some African-American communities are prospering, like the residents of Greenwood in Tulsa, Oklahoma. A remarkable Baptist pastor named Solomon Sir Jones is the pioneering filmmaker. His footage was lost for more than 50 years. Jones captures the bustling life of Greenwood, which could be any American small town. But Tulsa's whites don't like what they see. In May 1921, after a black man is accused of assaulting a white woman, a white mob rampages through the city. For a night and a day, they loot and burn Greenwood. A Fox News crew captures the only surviving footage. It is the bloodiest racial massacre in American history, leaving nearly 300 dead.
Wow, such a somber intro. Hopefully, you guys were able to hear it or hear most of it. If not, I can always play it again. No problem. Just let me know. Welcome back to another episode of Politics. This is this typically wouldn't be a subject I would cover. I don't want to say that. This wouldn't be something I would cover on this show. But being that Joe Biden just spoke on it yesterday, I feel like I can slide into politics a little bit. I think this falls under in the category of something like a Juneteenth, like an event that happened in history that is not talked about a ton. It's damn sure not taught in textbooks. So I feel like we can kind of walk that line today, and find out some stuff, have some little discussions. 100 years ago, the 29th of May until the 1st of June, they pretty much tore down, they burned this town to the ground, this entire neighborhood. It would be like I'm trying to think of if you're in Cleveland, it would be like essentially like burning down what's Ohio City. You know what I'm saying? It's not its own city, but it's just a neighborhood that's it's like burning that area to the ground. All this, and on that strip, it's a lot of bigger small businesses and small businesses. It's like burning all that shit to the ground. It's like dropping dynamite from airplanes to blow up buildings and drop accelerant from planes, just to destroy this town. All over, black people doing their own thing or having their own community, spending their own money with each other, and as you guys heard towards the end, like the actual spark, like so that's the saturation of the ground is all this hatred because black people got nice stuff. They got not one movie theater but two movie theaters in this town, and they got their own everything. It's a self-sufficient town. So that's what the ground saturation was, and then the spark was a 19-year-old black guy being in the elevator with a 17-year-old white girl or something like that, and who knows what happened? Like, no, it's never ever confirmed by him, by her. It's only him, her, and God. Like those are the only people who know what really happened. She did write a note saying, she refused to press charges. She wrote a note saying she refused to press charges after she left, as she left town. So what does that tell you? Like, who knows? You know what I'm saying? Did they have a relationship previously? Possibly. Um, did he attack her? Maybe. I doubt it. Not saying that black people don't attack white people or whatever, but when you're in that sort of a situation, I don't see you just ran on an elevator in like in a populated building. It just don't seem, it's possible. Like, I don't know. I wasn't there. Did the elevator get jammed and he fell and he caught himself, saying by grabbed her as he was falling or something, like, who knows? You know what I'm saying? Like, anything could happen. But because of that, they spent all day looking for the guy, found him, arrested him. He's locked up in the building, in like the courthouse, jail, whatever. Then you have a angry white mob who is, they want street justice. They're going for, he's already arrested, you know what I'm saying? But they want street justice. Then you have a counter group of black people, males and women, I'm assuming. They go to the courthouse to defend them, to make sure that, no street justice is taking place. That, he's already arrested. Let the justice system do its thing. Not saying that that's a fair thing either, but, let them do their thing. And, let them go to trial or let them get acquitted or whatever the case is. In the midst of that, somebody from the larger group got into it with somebody with the smaller group. Thus, that was your spark. And then you have a day and a half, essentially, of, people was destroying shops and buildings and killing almost estimated 300 people was killed in there. But I want to say more than 1,000 were like displaced because of it. Like, they had to live in tents and stuff, like, in the winter following. So yeah, it's just crazy. So the situation itself is crazy. Just guys, give you guys some background. Feel free to put your comments or anything you know about it, or whatever in the thing, and we can go through it together. But so the situation itself is crazy. I mean, I don't know how else you slice it. It is domestic terrorism. Like, no one was charged. Not one person, white or black or whatever, was charged in any of this. The only thing that happened was the sheriff had to step down, but he wasn't brought up on charges. He was relieved of his duties. But that was it. Nobody served jail time. Nobody got fined. None of that stuff. So as I was putting this show together, I was thinking the main thing that stood out to me was, and it was like a point that Joe Biden made yesterday, as he addressed the 3 remaining survivors of the massacre, was how, like, his message was, we can't act like it didn't happen. We have to keep talking about it to make sure that it's that the situation is properly addressed, and then do what we can do to build, recover and build upon it. But pretend like it didn't happen is not a good idea. I agree with that. I don't know how things like this have been like completely mismanaged in like the school system. Like, how is this stuff not taught in schools? I just don't know how that's a thing. I think we've covered it before on the show about how I think it's impossible that high school textbooks in the Northeast is different than in the Southeast. Potentially different than the Deep South or the Northeast. I'm sorry, or the Northwest. I don't know how that's possible. Like, how is this a thing that's allowed to happen? That's first off. And then secondly, not having like a diverse group of organizations and societies that's represented in these textbooks, where you can't just whitewash it, or you can't just omit whatever you wanted to omit. Like, I think it's crazy. That's probably the biggest thing that stood out to me. So this wasn't just people in Ohio not hearing about it, but this was people who grew up in Oklahoma, like grew up in Tulsa in the city, and they had never heard of it until they were adults. Like, how is that possible? Like, how is that a thing? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I don't know what can be done as far as that. I don't know what they're doing as far as solving. I know a lot of reparations talks have been had. How do you find the descendants of these people of this town when a lot of people were drug out of this town and took to mass graves and took to um, uh, uh, mass graves, dragged out of town completely, or dismembered, or drugged behind cars and all this stuff. Um, how do you even dig them up and start to do DNA like that? That's gonna it'll take a long time. But I mean, it's been 100 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, how much can you actually recover in 100 years of people that's buried in the ground? Like, it's not people that's frozen, that's perfectly preserved or something. So I don't know. It's just kind of crazy to me. Erica said there was a lot I didn't know about Tulsa. Yeah, Erica, that's what I was just talking about was like how, like, not you specifically, but how is this something that's allowed to slip through the cracks, just like a Juneteenth or just like all these other situations where I forget the town in North Carolina. I want to say it's North Carolina. It might be South Carolina, where it was another. It was a situation where a democratically elected um, uh, city council, mayor, or whatever. I'm not some people who were actually voted into power um, were tore out of power just by like a white angry mob of people who didn't want them, the black people to be in power when they were voted in. Like, they were legally, here in 2021, we know that a lot of people don't believe in that, legal voting stuff anyway, as we see with the Donald Trump stuff. But people that were legally voted into these positions, um, were like killed. You know what I'm saying? Like, killed or ran out of town, but they were voted in by their town, by the people who actually vote. Like, it's crazy to me how stuff like that fall through the cracks, and it's not in textbooks, and it's not in it's not taught in schools. That's absurd in America. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's not a country that's been taken over, that where another country came in and took over and they forced their history, their version of history on you. Like, this is not that. I don't get it. If anybody learned anything, not just from this show, but like I said, over the years, over the months, over the weeks, or the last couple of days, just put in the comments what you learned about Tulsa, the Tulsa situation, anything that you learned. Erica said, I didn't know bombs from plane were dropped on them. So it wasn't bombs in the traditional sense. It was more like sticks of dynamite and like accelerant. So you drop. So I think they said as many up to 4 planes where they dropped. You know what I'm saying? Bombs, essentially. I guess you could say bombs. I guess not bombs as we think about today, but what will be a bomb then for sure. Sticks of dynamite, and then another plane would drop, accelerant, so gasoline or kerosene or something, where you're going to make sure that fire don't get put out. Like, you're going to make sure that it increases it until you burn the building, all the way to the ground. That was something. I'm trying to think of something that I've even learned that I didn't know. I think I didn't know the number of people uh, who were killed potentially as high as 300. And I didn't know what happened afterwards. Like I didn't know that for essentially a year afterwards, they had to sleep in like Red Cross tents. And this is Oklahoma. You think of Oklahoma as the South or warm, but it's like they have like regular, you know, maybe not the snow that we have here in Ohio, but they have cold winters. Like, so you sleeping in a tent, like you went from a house, you went from a business, you was a doctor, or a you owned a movie theater or something like that, and now you just had to sleep in a tent. Like that's absurd. Um, I don't that's something I didn't know what happened afterwards. Um, Erica said it's just crazy that history isn't being told. That's done purposely. Erica, of course it is. Of course it is. The thing that gets me about it not being taught is what I just said. So this wasn't, like I said, this wasn't, um, this not America taking over. Um, I don't know, pick a country, Canada or something, or Mexico, and then we completely changing the history so that we don't look like the bad guys. Like we came in to rescue the people, therefore we had to take it over because of XYZ. You know what I'm saying, and kind of go from there. But this wasn't that. You know what I'm saying? Like this was like domestic terrorism. Like this happened from within, and for that to not be translated, or for that to not be um, uh, uh, taught in school, like that's crazy. And like, how could it be anything else but purposeful? The same way, whether it's the slavery stuff that they hide, or there's many black stories, like they'll tell stuff, uh, important stuff. Don't get me wrong, but they'll tell like the March of Tears, saying stuff that happened pre Civil War, pre Revolutionary War, like all this stuff. You know what I'm saying? But stuff that where your grandparents are still alive. Like these people in Tulsa, it was 100 years ago. They're still alive though. All the survivors are like between like 100 and 103 or something like that. So they're kids, but they're still alive. Like, but they don't get their story told. It's crazy to me. Angel said, I didn't know any of that. Um, yeah, it is not surprising. And I don't blame you or anybody like that. Like we talked last year, we talked about Juneteenth, and I'm sure we'll do it again sometime this year. A lot of people didn't know about it. Like a lot of people didn't hear about it at all until last year. That's not your guys' fault. Like the schools don't teach you, people don't talk about it. Like how would you know? That's just how it is. Erica said the people who built the city had come from the war. They were in the military. Yeah. So you had a bunch of people who came from um, who fought in the Revolutionary War, who were veterans. You had some people who were born in slavery, and was because at the time or right before this, um, Oklahoma had like a huge oil uh, uh, finding or whatever. So a lot of people flocked there for jobs, and people you got need people to work the oil field. So they were paying good money, decent money, and people was able to save their money, and they created a town. You know, which that you were able to save your money, spend it with your people or whatever. However you want to say it, or however it sounds, and you're able to build a self-sustaining situation. And they hated they hated them for it. That's crazy to me. They just for that, just for being self-sustaining, they hate them for it. But a lot of the racist white people, they're be quick to say, oh, pick yourself up by your bootstraps. Do it yourself. My grandparents did it themselves. Why y'all can't do it? Like, and then black people do, and they hate them for it. I mean, like, hate them for it. So, like I said, I don't blame anybody for not knowing this stuff. It's very unfortunate that this stuff that they don't teach in school. Angel said so much is hidden. Man, like, yeah, yeah, exactly. So much stuff. And like I said, this is this country. Like, this is stuff. This is this country's history. We're not talking about like another country that we took over or another country that we're trying to hide that stuff from. We're talking about this country, and they talk about healing and stuff, but we can't even admit that bad stuff happened in this country. Right now, they are having a um, they're like suing, or there's some kind of litigation in regards to the city of Tulsa or the state of Oklahoma doing something about what happened. Whether it's reparations or just putting money back into the community or the area, like whatever it is. I'm not exactly sure. Um, so when they went around and asked people in the town or around Tulsa, like what do you think about it? So of course you had a few people that was like, yeah, I think it's important to find out. I didn't learn about this in school. I didn't find out until I was an adult. We should, if for nothing else, to find out more information about what happened and why and how to prevent it, etc. Then you had a bunch of people like, nah, I think it's a waste of money to dig up these mass graves. I think it's a waste of money to go through litigation for this. Just a waste of money and time and energy. And like, that's crazy to me. Like, you don't even want to know. Like, you can't even. You don't want to know, so you don't have the guilt or whatever of just like your city's history, your country's history, your state's history. That's crazy. Regina said, "Shh, don't talk about it. Wouldn't want the wrong person to look bad." I think that's what it comes down to. Like, but I don't know. But you can't heal that way, though. Like, I don't get it. And it says school doesn't teach a lot of the basics from true history to basic skills of life, budgeting, taxes, etc. We talked about it plenty of times. You're absolutely right. Erica said, I'm celebrating Juneteenth this year. I'm going to get an apple pie and red velvet cake. Red everything. The more red, the better. Erica said they use their GI bills for sure. Ebony J said, or to try to stop us from doing it. Yeah, absolutely. Erica said, people are so thirsty for knowledge that they literally depend on social media and YouTube to teach and educate them on certain things, which isn't always true. Yeah, so that's the biggest thing as far as, and look, this is the problem that it causes when you don't have like not even like an agreement on what happened, like, but when you can't even like have a thing like, all right, this happened. You know what I'm saying? Like, this happened and we should make people aware of it. Then that's when like these wild, weird conspiracy theories come up, and then somebody on TikTok or something can just go on and say, yeah, this happened. And yeah, this also stuff happened, but it was because of this. The black guy attacked this white woman or something. Like, then all that information get misconstrued. And now, so all right, so you can admit that this event happened, but why did it happen? Or what was behind it? Like, what's the deeper meaning of it? Or, it's just some misinformation. You know what I'm saying? Because it's somebody off social media who heard something from somebody else, or just lied and made it up. You know what I'm saying? Without doing your research, like, do some research, ask some questions, watch some videos, read some books. You know what I'm saying? Watch some interviews, some documentaries, and be careful with documentaries too, because they're biased depending on who paid to get them done. So of course, if PETA is funding the documentary, they're going to make all of the food places all the meat places look bad. You know what I'm saying? Of course, that's what's going to happen, and vice versa. If this documentary is paid for by Wendy's, and then of course McDonald's is going to look bad. But that's up to you to do your research. Find out. You see a documentary that you like, that's cool. Find out who funded it. Find out what their ulterior motives is. Do your own research. Like take the interest that you have and do your own research about it. Find out the truth. That's what I try to do here. Like, I'm not saying I get every fact perfect. Like, I know I said, like, I don't have time to go back and do I missed this fact, or I misspoke on this, or I misquoted this person here. But I guarantee you, I don't have any ulterior motives than just trying to have a conversation with you guys. You know what I'm saying? That's it. Like I've said, one thing that stand out to me that I wish I could have went back and omitted when I was talking about gun control and mass shootings and stuff, and I said that to date the mass shooting in Australia was the biggest one in history. At the time it was, but I forgot or whatever about. I wasn't thinking about the Vegas shooting. Like, that is the largest mass shooting in the history of the world now. That was on purpose, but like it was an error for sure. But I don't have anything, ain't nothing behind it besides trying to, not even trying to educate you guys, just trying to stir up some conversation. Get y'all thinking, so y'all do your own research or just have a conversation with you guys. Erica said, we literally have to discern everything in our generation. Man, yes, we do. We have the privilege of opportunity in order to do so. I'm not saying it's our job. I don't think it's our job to educate as Black people or whatever, to educate nobody on nothing. Like, you want to find out any information about whatever else, you'll go to the internet to find it out. So if you want to learn about injustices or anything of the sort, you can find that out too. You know what I'm saying? So I don't fall into that trope. But having the internet and having access to news stories that we might not have heard about, or interviews from across the country that we may not have ever been able to see, or because of the internet we can go back and read and watch interviews and news clippings from stuff years ago before we was born if we needed to. So we had that opportunity, and that's great. Like, it's a great resource to have. Man, it just would have been nice to have some sort of a lead up, but you got to start with somewhere. And hopefully this generation, like I said, hopefully we can take it and do some good with it, man. So it's not just just go by the wayside again. Because if we don't, then it will. Like, if they're able to suppress it, then they will. Let's see. Because like I said, like before, like we're not, or I'm not at least, like even old enough to be like a president. You know what I'm saying? So we have to. So this is our lead in. Hopefully, when we get to the age where we can, get into. I hate to say it, when all these old politicians start dying or retiring or whatever, then hopefully when we get our chance, we'll make it count and not, have more of the same. Even though, as you see, even the newer faces that come around, like the Republican Party, even the Democratic Party, you have like these weirdos, man, these weird people who, conspiracy theorists or just always like the controversy, just constantly. It's kind of crazy. Erica said PBS documentaries, for sure. That's a publicly paid for thing. So for sure. Angel said it's hard to trust anyone. It is, especially social media. Anywhere, but especially there. Regina said, when something is so clearly wrong and blasting, I'll fact check and post a proof. Tell the person to follow up. They don't have to go by what I posted. At least people can see it isn't true, or give them an idea to check it out. That's all I'll try to do. And I think that's all we should do is question everything. Question it all until it all makes sense. Question it. Like, you don't like my assessment, you know what I'm saying? You don't like my breakdown, for whatever reason, that's fine. That's fine. Go do the research for yourself. And if you see, and if you want to call me out, not you guys, but you know what I mean. If there's anybody that want to say like, hey, that's not the case, then do it. I'll welcome it. And if I'm wrong, then I'll be wrong and we can go from there. So yeah, but so much stuff that's just omitted in history about this Tulsa stuff. I mean, like, look at like these were whole towns. Like, these were whole city blocks, like rubble. I think this is actually from like a TV show that they started the TV show in like the Tulsa riots or whatever. But just to give you an idea, of course, it's not 100% accurate, but these were like towns with actual people in here, and this is kind of like the beginning of the riots and stuff. Or the massacre when people was coming in, but these were actually like normal city blocks with actual buildings. Like burned down buildings. This reminds me of you guys always remember that photo of like 9/11, the World Trade Centers or whatever, where it's like burnt up, but like the outsides are still standing, but they like leaning out, but the whole inside of it is gone. Like this is what that reminds me of. Just acts of terrorism, however you want to look at it. And just say, keep learning. I love to talk to someone who is still alive that remembers. Just go search YouTube. Just type in Tulsa, and like I said, a lady recently, I want to say she was 103, recently spoke to Congress. I want to say on the 29th. The 29th would have been the holiday, so maybe just before the weekend. Maybe just before the weekend. She spoke to Congress, and just an effort of getting something done. And she said, like something she said that stood out to me, which I thought was pretty dope. Is she said, she felt like the only reason she was around is to see justice done, like to get justice. She's 103 years old. She said that's the only reason I feel like that's the only reason I'm around is for me to see justice. This is crazy. Erica said these people were high class people. Yeah, self-sustained doctors, surgeons. The top black surgeon in the country was there. He was deemed to be the number one black surgeon in the country. He lived in that town. I don't think he didn't die in a riot. I think they say he moved away, but still, like these were actual like self-made people who went to work and reinvest in their community to build it up. Angel said, just a continuation of her last comment. I love to talk to someone who's still alive that remembers anything in history. Look, I love talking to vets for that reason. Vietnam vets or World War II vets. It's not many of those guys around, but for sure, like me too. Because it's one thing to get this information online or even from a book, I suppose, but that firsthand, like I was there, I seen this is what I seen out of my eyes. Like this is my experiences. It's unlike anything else. Hopefully, I can be an old person telling story like, man, 2020 was crazy. I personally experienced the COVID-19 situation or whatever. Erica said, I'm going to do that. Researching more, for sure. There's plenty of resources for that and other stuff. Erica, I know you said you celebrating Juneteenth this year. Tons of resources and stuff on that. It's just information out there. You just got to go if you want it. You just got to go find it. That's what it comes down to. Regina said it would be hard for her to have all of those hateful memories. Yes, it would make you feel like you're alive to see justice. Yeah. That's what I did. That's what I took it as. And that's not like, oh, I want to see, white people die or whatever, but I want to see like my hometown, my home area built back up. I want to see the people who was supposed to be prosperous in my town. I want to see them prosper. I want to see people held accountable. I want to see a fucking sorry from the people that let this happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, so this is crazy to me. So 7 o'clock or a little after 7, I'm gonna get out of y'all hair. Regina, right on time. The next drawing tonight, she said, "Get your shot." I'm gonna let you guys get out of here, and hopefully somebody win $1 million. And then, throw me a couple grand, and we can go do our own research together. We can travel, go do some interviews, some first person interviews ourselves. So I'm I'm all for it. All right, man. So you guys be safe. Do your own research. Just take the stuff that make you curious about whatever. Do your own research, and the world will be better off for it. So get out of y'all hair. Be safe. Get y'all shots. Or y'all haven't. I haven't. So I'm not even eligible, but soon. I promise. Soon. You guys stay safe. Salute to the city as always, and I'm out of here.